Now godliness with contentment is great gain. For we brought nothing into this world, and it can be certain that we will carry nothing out. Having food and clothing, with these we shall be content. But those who desire to be rich fall into temptation and a snare, and into many foolish and harmful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition. For the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil, for which some have strayed from the faith in their greediness, and pierced themselves through with many sorrows. It pulls us away from Jesus. And when we're not close to God, we really only gain sorrow. Things only get more difficult. And so he wants us to be content with the things that he's given to us, not seek after more. Philippians 4:11-13 says, this is Paul speaking, and he says, not that I'm speaking of being in need, for I've learned in whatever situation I'm in to be content. I know how to be brought low, and I know how to abound. In any and every circumstance, I've learned the secret of facing plenty and hunger, abundance and need. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Wouldn't it be great to be able to say this? That I've learned in whatever situation I'm in to be content, whether I have a lot or I have a little. If I don't have very much, I know I have Jesus, and he's going to give me strength to get through. And when I do have a lot, I thank God for the blessings that he's given to me. If we could just say that. When we set our affections on the things of this earth, instead of on the one that's created all of the things, then we're completely missing the blessings that God has given us. Have you ever heard of the God-shaped hole? People will tell you we all have a God-shaped hole in our lives, and only God can fill that hole. And so sometimes we feel this emptiness, and we're seeking after something, and we don't know what it is. And we think, well, when we get this thing, we'll be satisfied. Whenever I get this job, then I'll feel content. When I find my spouse, I'll be content. When I have children, I'll be content. When the children leave the house, I'll be content. When I get to retire, I'll be content. Whenever I achieve this goal or buy this thing, I'll be content. But if we're trying to fill this emptiness inside us that only God can fill, then we will never be content. So we first have to fill the God-shaped hole. We first have to fill the need within us to have a relationship with God. Then we'll be content with everything else, and we won't have to seek after more and more and more. King Solomon, the wisest one in all the Bible, he observed this in his own life. And so I'm going to read this to you. This is Ecclesiastes 2:4 all the way to 11. He says, I made my works great. I built myself houses, and I planted myself vineyards. I made myself gardens and orchards, and I planted all kinds of fruit trees in them. I made myself water pools from which to water the growing trees of the grove. I acquired male and female servants, and I had servants born in my house. Yes, I had greater possessions of herds and flocks than any and all who were in Jerusalem before me. I also gathered for myself silver and gold, and the special treasures of kings and of the provinces. I acquired male and female singers, the delights of the sons of men, the musical instruments of all kinds. So I became great, and I excelled more than all who were before me in Jerusalem. All my wisdom retained with me. Whatever my eyes desired, I did. I didn't keep from them. I didn't withhold my heart from any pleasure, for my heart rejoiced, and this was my reward from all my labor. And then I looked at all the works of my hands, everything that I'd done, and on the labor in which I toiled. And indeed, it was all vanity, a grasping of the wind. There was no profit under the sun. How sad. Solomon saying he was rich in all the ways that mattered. Not only did he have things, but he had entertainment. He indulged himself in every single way. He worked hard and he had a lot of stuff. And at the end, he looked at all of it and he said, it's empty. It meant nothing. It was a grasping of the wind. I was trying to grab something and I never got it. It's that same thing I was talking about, the God-shaped hole. You're grabbing it and you're getting it and you're getting it and you're getting it and you're getting nothing. There's nothing there. It satisfies you none. Ecclesiastes 5:10, he says, he who loves money will not be satisfied with money, and he who loves wealth will not be satisfied with his income. You'll never make enough. Never make enough money. If that's where your focus is, you're never going to be satisfied. That misguided focus only drags you away from the Father that loves you and the Father that provides for you. You continue to love money more than you love God, then you're going to spend eternity without both. Because when you die, you can't bring that money with you. And if you haven't invested in a relationship with God, then that money's going to be gone. And you're also not going to have eternity with your loving Father who wanted to give you his kingdom, but you weren't concerned with that. You're building your own. Psalm 10:3 says, for the wicked boasts of his heart's desires. He blesses the greedy and renounces the Lord. The physical possessions that we have will not transfer over into the next life. And so we better be building up spiritual treasures. Galatians 5:16-17 says, but I say walk by the Spirit, and then you won't gratify the desires of the flesh. The desires of the flesh are against those of the Spirit, and the desires of the Spirit are against those of the flesh. They're opposed to each other to keep you from doing the things that you want to do. And then skip down to verses 24 and 25. Those who belong to Christ Jesus have crucified the flesh with its passions and desires. And so if we live by the Spirit, let us also keep step with the Spirit. So what he's saying is the things of this earth and the spiritual things are in conflict with one another. And so if you're seeking after one, you're neglecting the other. You can't desire both. Can you have both? Yes. You can have lots of things here on this earth and also have a relationship with God. But what are you seeking after? What are you investing in? What's all your time, energy, and focus going into? If you're placing all of your focus on these things, then your relationship with God will suffer. But if you're focusing on God, then he can add those things to you. You can still have those things, but they don't matter to you near as much as he does. And so it says, if we want to have a really good relationship with Jesus, then we have to crucify the things of the flesh. We have to put them aside. Forget about them. Don't concern ourselves with them. And so focus on him and the things of his kingdom, because those are the only things that are lasting anyway.